I was copying Madonna, one of my idols, on TV, thinking I could dance like her, which I can't. I spun and I slipped a disc. But I went on with the tour with back brace and drinking a lot. Yeah, if you drink and take a few shots, you manage.
For anybody listening to the podcast, please don't take that as medical advice.
No, I ended up in hospital.
Stacey's suggesting you should just drink and take loads of shots and everything will be fine.
It did go away for that next hour.
Well, maybe it is then. Maybe it is medical advice. That's good.
Yeah. Why not?
You just said I did a track called "Horny" and I didn't want my parents to hear it because they're a bit sexy.
No, did I say that? Oh, we need to.
That's what you said. Hello, and welcome to the Lock-In Podcast. I'm Mike, and this is Baz. Say hello, Baz.
Hello, Baz.
Nice. If you haven't been with us before, this podcast is called The Lock-In. It's just me and Baz in our virtual pub, having a few drinks and chatting to whoever's come and sat at our table. Before we go any further, my daughter listened to the podcast for the first time last week. And I've got into the habit of starting the podcast with hello, because I think it's not a nice high energy way of doing it. Apparently, RuPaul starts every drag race with coming in saying hello. I presume in a different manner to the way I do it, though.
His hair's not as long as yours, though.
No, exactly. Do you know what I mean? And I think, I suspect it's in a slightly different manner. Never having watched the drag race with RuPaul, I wouldn't know. But yeah, that's the first thing she said when she heard the hello. I just think it's a bit of like it's better than going hello. So anyway, that's me. And if you are listening and you're thinking that I'm trying to be RuPaul, I'm not. So like I say, this podcast is me and Baz in our virtual pub, the Brace of Readings. We just sit, have a few beers and a chat, and we chat with whoever's come to sit at our table. Now, the person we've invited to our virtual pub tonight, we don't know much about. Some of these shows, we do a fair bit of research and we know quite a bit about them. But other times, I just like to get somebody on we don't know much about, and we'll get to know them while you, the listener or the viewer, gets to know them at the same time. So tonight's guest is a lady who sent me a message on TikTok asking if I would help her promote her new single.
Oh,
I don't know if you still call them that, but I'm going to call it that anyway.
Yeah, we're old.
But yeah,
late's 45.
Yeah, exactly. So she said, could I help in terms of going on Spotify and listening to it and sharing it and things? And I said, I tell you what, come and talk to us about it on the podcast. So here she is. So I'll bring her straight on, and we can have a chat to her about her story. And about her new track that's come out. I think track's probably the
track. There you go.
Yeah. Single's a bit Tony Blackburn, isn't it? All right. So so she'll come and talk to us about the latest track she's just dropped. All right. So here she comes. It's Stacey J. Hello, Stacey J. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm great. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. Like I say, I didn't give you much of an introduction other than how you got to be here on the podcast. Just because we don't know much about you, and I do like occasionally doing these where we don't know the person, so it feels more real, like it is in a pub where somebody's just happened to be sat down chatting to someone, and we get to know you at the same time as everybody who's listening or watching gets to know you as well. So. First thing I want to ask you to do is just tell us, before we get on to what you're doing now and the reason that you contacted me, but you tell us a little bit about you, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and we'll pick up from there.
I'm Stacey. I'm from St Albans. What do I do? I was doing children's party entertainment until COVID hit, so that all stopped in March 2020.
Wow.
And running music classes for babies and toddlers. This is my later life. So, so each week I would entertain babies and toddlers around Northwest London and singing and with instruments. Anyway, so then COVID hit. So that went on the back burner. At that point, I discovered TikTok and I went back into my music. So we all went back to doing things that we never had time to do before, right? And one of the main things for me was my music.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, moving on from that, I'm a mum of 2, and I'm a dog. I'm very busy, and I'm now writing some music and tunes for this dance record label.
So you say go back to music. So presumably, before you were doing the parties, were you a professional musician?
Yeah, kind of. So basically, I started off in the music industry in the 90s, after school, probably the 80s. Let's stick to the 90s. I worked for a recording studio because I wanted to be a pop star. That was all I wanted to do was music. And from there, I went and worked actually for Sony Records, where I got fired because I wasn't really working very well, because I just wanted to be in dance division with the DJs and stuff like that. And anyway, through that, I ended up meeting my manager at the time, who put me in touch with this guy, Jason, who I put my first record out with. And that was 1992.
For those listening on the audio, Stacey doesn't look old enough to have released a song in 1992. That's criminal. I mean, me and Baz are old, and we look it. You're old, but you don't. That's the big difference.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I really appreciate that. So I don't know how long we've got, but I released a record back then, track record called Accelerate, which got to number 45 in the charts, blah, blah, blah.
That's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get 45, not 39. You know what I mean? 6 more.
It's more frustrating for me now than it was then, because now, if it was a top 20, I could have done festivals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if I had Dreamer or any of those big tracks, Let Me Be Your Fantasy, right? Because it was dance. And anyway, so I did loads of promotional tours and TV, radio, etc. And then I did another track with him called Music of the Future. Artist name Lust, the other name is Skin Up. The names are ridiculous that I've gone under. Nice. And that got to number 83. Bit more annoying. How I remember. Don't remember much. I remember this. And anyway, so and so that was what I did with all the promotional tours, which was amazing, in the UK, clubs, universities. And then I did a lot, to be fair, but I met these guys, Space Brothers, who are a big trance act now. They're still going, they're proper, brilliant, and friends of mine. And anyway, I met them, and I'm not sure if they were, I think they were Space Brothers, but they did a separate act called Climax with a K. And we signed to Warner's ZTT, which is was part of the Warner Brothers. Do you remember Seal? Seal, his label.
So, sorry, I'm glad he understood your accent then, because I was like, Seal? What?
Seal.
I remember Seal. Yes, I do. I'm a big fan of his work.
Kiss from a Rose.
Seal, not so much a fan.
Not Cyril. So
Yeah.
Seal.
Oh, gotcha.
So we put this. We signed to this record label. I was working for T-Mobile at the time. I was in my 20s, and in my eyes, I was like, "This is it." Oh my gosh! Because what happened was they cabbed. There was no contracts coming on emails. They cabbed the contract to the reception of my office place. Nice. So I go downstairs, I'm signing it. I remember thinking, this is it. This is, my dream. Back there, I just wanted to perform, sing, write, just for a living, be a pop star. I really, it was a massive ambition. So anyway, so I signed the deal with them, and we started promoting this track, which was called I've Got a Feeling. And actually it became a pretty big gay anthem. So much so that I did a gig before lockdown, before COVID and I've forgotten the name, kind of Brixton way, and their reunion night. It was called I've Got a Feeling by Climax, and they used to play it every night at the Fridge. So I did gig PAs there on New Year's Eve. So that's amazing. But what happened to this track was, unfortunately, they pulled back on their new artists, and it never got released. So despite
no.
it being like a really big like anthemy in that scene, and they didn't actually release it, so that was the end of that. But I did do Gay Pride in 1996 in Clapham,
Awesome.
and the same time as Kylie Minogue. So I like that.
Kylie who? Sorry.
That's my claim to fame. I was on the bill with Kylie and Happy Clappers. Remember the Happy Clappers?
Oh yeah.
And if you're, it's so nice for me to talk about it. No one really wants to hear these things.
No,
I've
definitely.
spoken about this stuff for so long, but like I went on a radio tour and I did the same tour as Peter Andre. I've got it all in my book away, stashed away. Yeah, Mysterious Girl. It was then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was that, and then there was loads of like auditions and like things that were going to happen that didn't happen. It's just the industry. I was in it for years, in and out. I actually hurt my back. That's another story. I was copying Madonna, one of my idols, on TV, thinking I could dance like her, which I can't. I spun and I slipped a disc.
Wow.
It's true. Yeah. And so I basically ended up in hospital with a bad back. But I went on with the tour with back brace and drinking a lot. It's terrible. But before you go on stage,
but it does have anesthetic properties.
Yeah, if you drink and take a few shots, you manage. So it was just a shame. I had to lie down like in the van in between, and
for legal reasons, I need to point out that's not medical advice.
No.
Anybody listening to the podcast, please don't take that as medical advice.
No, I ended up in hospital.
Stacey's suggesting you should just drink and take loads of shots and everything will be fine.
It did go away for that next hour.
Well, maybe it is then. Maybe it is medical advice. That's good.
Yeah. Why not? So then I took time out to recover. Yeah, but all my records were amazing experience, and I played Hitman and Her. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I very much remember that.
I've got the video. I haven't got it now. Yeah.
So I wouldn't normally ask this, but having complimented you and said you look young, how old are you?
42.
Okay, you're
Plus
a young
10.
whippersnapper. You're considerably by a considerable margin. You're the youngest on the podcast. So there you go.
I am the youngest. Oh, I feel really happy about that now.
Oh God, yeah, by quite a way.
Yeah, by a decade, a decade and a bit in my case. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's
hooray!
Like I say, people.
Can you edit that out though?
I went through. I went through a stage where when I used to tell people my age, people would go, "No, never." And then I stopped using Just for Men. This isn't even a joke.
How old are you?
I stopped using Just for Men, and then I got to a point where it was like, "I'm this old," and people going,
Yeah.
I was like, when did everybody stop saying no? You're never that old. But I tell you, there was a reason why I did it, and it's because I started working as a PT and as fitness classes and stuff, which I still do. But when I started doing that, I thought, at the time, I looked 10 years younger than I was, and I wasn't in good enough shape for somebody who was 10 years younger than me. So it was either work really hard in the gym and get into the shape of someone 10 years younger than me, or stop using Just for Men, look my age, and people go, yeah, he's in decent shape for his age. So that's the route I took, you see. So people are no longer surprised when I tell them how old I am. They just kind of go, all right, yeah, like that. So I sacrificed that for the fact that I couldn't be arsed eating out of Tupperware 4 times a day, and I like drinking and pizza. So there you go.
Oh, so
anyway.
With filters, everyone can look 10 years younger. Brilliant. That's why I love TikTok. Love TikTok. The filters. As soon as that camera goes on, I look 10 years younger.
I mean, listen to your story so far. That there's a couple of kind of parallels that I want to like. One thing is that we had a guy called Liam McDevitt on a couple of weeks ago, who is he's a sports journalist now, but he's an ex-professional footballer, and we've had 2 ex-professional footballers on. And your story about the music industry is very similar to their story about football. So Liam's just recently done a documentary about how many, there's thousands and thousands of young footballers in academies waiting for their big break, and then 99% of them get let down and don't make it as big as they wanted it to make it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just when you were saying that, it was just like, it's the same story in the music industry. It's the same story, but a different industry. That there's so many people go for it and really want it and give it absolutely everything. But it's and do you know what? It's like, I went to school. I say this a lot. I went to school with Gary Neville, and he wasn't even the best footballer at our school. Yeah, but he wasn't even the best footballer at our school. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
So it just shows that there's a huge number of things that go into it. I mean, he got to where he is because he worked harder than anybody else. But there are other people who are just right place, right time, and things. And it is just that it's such a huge percentage of people never make it, and it seems like that's the same with the music industry.
Oh, there's thousands upon thousands that don't make it. I mean, I was happy with what I did. I was happy. I wanted to always release a record by the time I was 22, like Madonna did. I was like, this is my aim, and that happened. But it didn't quite follow through as I'd hoped. But so I've done bits. But you know what I'd like to say is how different it was then to how it is now. Because my friend's daughter's trying to break into it, and she's streamed some tracks and is great. And actually, maybe you'd like to interview her. But she went back in the day. I used to have to pay to go in the studio. I used to have come out with my cassette, and then I put it in a jiffy bag, and I post it off to all the companies. And actually, I was called into Warner's actual WEA to meet a guy after hearing my demo, but nothing came of that. But that was an amazing thing if that happened. Yeah. Now it's all about your socials. So whereas like my friend's kid only just released her track and she's doing really well, I'm like, how come a record company won't pick her up straight away? So it's all about the followers, and she's only just started out. Yeah. It is so different. We didn't have that. So we had no promotional platforms, did we? Like social media at all. So literally you just were basically relying on knocking on doors. Yeah. Knocking on doors. It's so different now.
What's your thoughts on the talent sort of show route into music? Because obviously there are thousands of people that have been on shows like The X Factor, The Voice, and a lot of those people, even though they win, the particular Voice, you never get to hear them again. So it's kind of, I guess it's one of those things that at some point in your musical career, you're viewed by millions of people on TV. But of course, the moment you finish that part of the show, those people don't follow you anymore because they've moved on to the next people.
Yeah, there is that. Although they can, I mean, so that was one of the things I was going to bring up, because I said about the guy that paid me a compliment about my age, and it happened to be Simon Cowell when I was on The X Factor.
Never heard of him.
Okay, let's talk about that then.
In 2018, while I was still doing Boogie Babies, which is the music classes, I've got one of my teachers who's a good friend of mine at the time as well. I'd wanted to do it for a few years. We put in a little act together called the Boogie Babes. We did a video. We changed the lyrics of the song, and we connect so well together. It just really worked. It was kind of just it was fun, but we can sing, and we were just having fun with it. And we did a bit of I've forgotten the song we did, but we also did Blame It on the Boogie and talked about the audition. And anyway, they phoned us up and we got in, and we were called up to London. And for me, that was one of my ambitions. I know it sounds, I just wanted to do X Factor. I wanted the experience of it because I've grown up watching it, and I just thought I'd love to try it. So I was really pleased to go on, and we flew through and got to the judges stage and went to Wembley. And it was an amazing experience. I must be honest, it's a very interesting one, because you turn up for your audition day at Wembley. You turn up at like 8 or 9 in the morning. Then you have interview with the producers, another audition with another production people. We got through all of that. Then we're whisked off to walk around Wembley while they kind of interview us. So you feel like a real pop star for the day. It was really fun. And remember, I'm my age is later on. What a fab thing to do. And by the time we sang in front of the judges, it was about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Honestly, I was exhausted.
Nap time.
I was exhausted. All the interviews after, just literally crammed into.
Yeah.
That's when we were younger. No, I was exhausted. And we went on, and it just, we got through, and we got through to the next round. And the next round, I thought, it's not the X Factor. I always wanted to go to the boot camp. I always thought that would be so fun, right? Being a boot camp. It's just ridiculous and funny and just. Anyway, but then they said there's no boot camp. So the next round we got through to was literally elimination round. So we had to go all the way to the other side of London on a day and literally do nothing apart from wait all day in a room. And then they split you into rooms. At that point, to be told right at the end of the day, actually, you didn't make it to the 6-chair challenge. So we didn't get to that point. So I was my Jodie, who I did it, was really upset about it, and I was just happy. I walked out, fine, thanks, because I did what I wanted to do. You know, I'm at this age where there's ticks, and that was one of them.
So where did Simon Cowell's compliment about your age come in?
Yeah, I forgot about that. So he said, trying to remember, like thinking I haven't got it on video, which obviously I have, but. Have I watched it? No. He just he said, "And how old are you?" And I said I was late 40s, and he said,
"You weren't late 40s. You're not late 40s now."
No, it was 2018. Yeah, so I was right. Yeah.
No, you weren't late 40s. You'd told us before you were 42. You can't have been late 40s in 2018.
I said 42 plus 10.
Show me age. Did you not hear that?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Are you 52?
I got it. Don't worry.
No, I want to be 40. Oh, no, I'm 52. Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Do you know what? I've been sitting here thinking she looks really good for her age, thinking you were 42.
Oh gosh, really?
And also, I'll take it back. You're not the youngest on here. I am. So.
Oh God, I know, that's what I was thinking. I thought, really, I'm the youngest. You read it out.
Let's drink to me being the youngest on the podcast.
Really? Me looking the youngest? No, you look good. Yeah.
It's a showbiz age, though, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. I was 48, so I think I was 48, and so he said.
Remember that compliment I gave you about you looking good for your age? That was a compliment about you looking good for 42. So I think I've just upgraded the compliment, by the way.
I'll come back if I'm invited. I'll come back again. In 10 years' time.
Sorry, we digressed there about that.
No.
I didn't understand I didn't hear the plus 10.
Oh.
Anyway, so yeah, go back to Simon Cowell complimenting you on your age.
Yeah, he said, "How old are you both?" Obviously knowing my age because it's probably written down. And he was like, "Wow, really?" He said, "And that's all real, is it?" That was it, really.
He never turned around and goes, "Well, yours isn't, dickhead." So
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you look like you're wearing a mask these days.
Exactly. Yeah, look at you, Cowell, with your white teeth. You couldn't look fucking surprised if you tried. Do you know what I mean? Don't
there's nothing real. There's nothing real about him. I was Anastasia when I started out, and then the Anastasia came out, so I had to cut my name. I had to change it.
Look, if you were first, why can't you sue her?
Because she was a bit bigger. She was slightly bigger. So I went on to their dance names, and I didn't even get a feature. At least now they're featuring my name. But back then it would have been nice. It meant, look.
Hold on a minute. If you got the name Anastasia first, how can she just steal it?
No, I just used it because Stacey comes from Anastasia. I didn't copyright it. Can you copyright a name?
I don't know, but if you were first in the music industry, it's a bit like...
No one knew. No, I didn't release under Anastasia. It was just credit on the back of the vinyl.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You should go after her. You should go after her.
Records. Would that be interesting?
You should go after her for 0.5% of her earnings.
Yeah, you're right.
0.5% of her earnings. And you could build a village full of houses with the amount of money you'd get out of it.
I think
did that well. I
was going to say, I think how it works as well is that, like Stacey said, if someone's bigger in the music industry, they get the first dibs on it, don't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, because obviously I had big gaps. I wasn't an established artist. I was doing vocals for different dance acts.
Right. Well, I'm going to start a band called Oasis, and hopefully I'll get big enough to tell them they have to stop using that name.
What do you both do for a job, by the way?
I build events, like outdoor events. So things like the Royal Windsor Horse Show and big. I used to work on a big.
Got excited then. She thought she was like, oh, do you do any retro? Do you do any retro music events? No, so literally, I'd be able to get you in if you were a horse. Unfortunately,
you read my mind. I was like, that's the way it goes to getting, and then it's like, yeah, maybe you play my tracks.
Oh, this would be amazing. We can get here. It's like, yeah. Well,
I'm about to book the House and Classics Festival. So horse shows. Yeah, no.
That's one of the big ones I do.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure your style of music works with dressage. So, Stacey, I've asked you to go and grab hold of some actual physical records that you're on. Kids won't understand this shit, right? But we do. We know this.
Yeah, we know. Vinyl.
Show us some records.
The records. So that was the single with Skin Up, Accelerate.
A 12-inch single.
Nice.
Oh yeah, the 12.
Yeah, of course. It's got to be a 12-inch. Do you know what I mean?
There we go. Number 45. Number 45, Accelerate. Then you've got, what else have I got here? Oh, okay. This is interesting. I wasn't on the front of this. This is a Juicy Red Apple. This was top 40 by Skin Up as well. Do you remember Skin Up back in the day?
I remember Skinning Up. I don't remember Skin Up.
I don't remember Skin Up, but that's just because.
Okay. So I'm actually on the B side of this.
Nice.
With the track called Horny, which was spoken lyrics and a bit sung, but I never wanted my parents to hear it. They were like a bit sexy, and they still don't know to this day, although they're about to find out. What? I was crazy.
You said I did a track called Horny, and I didn't want my parents to hear it because they're a bit sexy.
No, did I say that? Oh, we need to.
That's
edit
what you
that.
said. Well, you think the lyrics were.
It was a bit sexy. Because the track was a bit sexy, and
that makes more sense.
This is why no one knows me, because I did a dance version of 10 Green Bottles. Forgot about that earlier.
Wow.
By Erotics featuring Anastasia.
There you go.
So just go back to your career. So presumably a lot of the stuff, because you're featured on it, that your actual face, like in a lot of these tracks, you don't get featured. It's your voice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And also I made a pop video, which is also wow. And then I got taken out. I did photo shoots and for flyers and things like that.
It must be quite frustrating though, because obviously
it was. We fell out. We kind of broke up over it.
If you try to create your own brand, obviously your face is part of that. So it's kind of a bit of a disconnect, isn't it?
It is, but you know what? When you're in your 20s and you're so passionate about music, you just want to put records out. You're happy, all right? And it's like I was so happy to do records with him that if he. Listen, we did have a big falling out after he took me out of the video, I must be honest. I'm not going to lie. And we were kind of going out. We were going out at the time. So we kind of broke up after that.
Hey, you used kind of quite a bit. So did you break up?
Yeah.
Just kind of break up.
Well, because I was taken out of the video. Because I filmed the video and the next day he told me, and I really like Jason, we're still in touch now. But he took me out of the video because he explained it, and I can't get it now. I didn't really get it then. I wasn't very happy why I couldn't be in the video. And it's because he's the main he was the act. Yeah. And I'm featured on that track, right?
Yeah.
You know what they did back then? They put the records out. If they chart top 40 and really go off, then you do a video. It's so different. Like now, I think everything's video. I made promo videos on my new stuff, you know. Yeah. Back then you do a video, probably, you know, if it really does climb, then they start budgeting for videos.
It's the famous case, isn't it, with the track Ride on Time. they actually brought in it was a girl that didn't even sing. They just brought
I remember all that. Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
It was just a model.
Yeah.
But I was doing tours, so I was out there. And when you say about your face being the front person, remember back in the 90s, the front person was literally out on Top of the Pops every week.
Yeah.
What other programs? There was Saturday morning telly or something. There wasn't so much as there is now. It was all then. You know what I'm saying? Kind of. So I was out a lot anyway. I was doing gigs, so I was out there. So it wasn't. But being taken out of the music video, I wasn't very happy about. No.
You've spoken a fair bit about everything that happened in the 90s, and we know that we've got you on the podcast because you've released a new track now. So why has there been nothing between the 90s and now? Before we talk about now, and we'll play a little bit of the track, and we'll talk about the track now. So what happened? What happened? Did you fall out of love with it? Did real life take over? Did you kind of think, oh, maybe it's not going to happen? What was the reason that there's a gap from the 90s to now?
Because I've never fallen out of love with music. Never, ever. It's here. It always will be. And especially dance music. Very, very passionate about my dance music. Because I met my husband, so we can blame him.
Yeah.
I started a family. So I started writing in my 30s, like late 20s. So I was doing all the dance stuff, etc. And I started writing, and I met my husband, and I carried on. I play the piano. So then I became more focusing on, I put demos together of my own songs, which actually are ballads. I go from ballads to dance music, basically. Because what I write, and I've got different influences, but I do love a ballad and slow. I've got a bit of Carole King. I loved it. Anyway, so why did I fall out? And then I had kids shortly afterwards. So my children are now 15 and 13. So I think when you've got children, for the first, as they're growing up, you lose yourself at the beginning. And Boogie Babies really took up so much time. Being a mother takes up time, and I didn't have any spare. I didn't really have the spare time to just sit, and I didn't play the piano and etc. and do TikTok.
Is your husband anything to do with the music industry?
No, he is not at all.
That would be the reason why, then, wouldn't it? I suppose it's just that you've thrown yourself in those years into being a family.
So that brings us to present day. I am going to play a little bit of the track. What I'm going to do for people who are listening, people who are watching, I'm just going to play a really short bit of the track so people can listen to it. Okay, so. So that's literally all I
don't recognize who I've become.
That's all I'm brave enough to play, so I don't get the podcast pulled down. But if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, that's on Spotify. It's called "Wanna Be Happy" by Dutch Bold featuring Stacey J. So whether you are watching us on YouTube, it's on YouTube as well. Spotify. Go and have a look. Go and listen to it. Give it a review. Share it with your friends. Do everything you can to support it. It's like we say, you did a bunch of stuff in the 90s, then didn't do stuff. So how did it come about that you now, 30 years later, have...
I realize it's so long.
Sorry about that.
Where did that time go?
I know, yeah. Sorry about mentioning that it's 30 years later.
Not 30 years, 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
Gosh, not 30 years later.
No. 1990 plus 20 takes you to 2010.
No, but I was doing it in my 90s, so 1990 going up to
1999 plus 20 takes you to 2019.
Yeah.
It's still not 20 years. It doesn't matter how much you wish it was only 20 years. It's not, I'm afraid. Anyway, let's not go caught up on math, all right? We'll leave that till we get Carol Vorderman on the podcast, all right? Anyway, how did you get back into it after a gap of, sorry about this, but 20 odd to 30 odd years?
Before lockdown, my dad plays the guitar and he started going to an open mic night. I went to support him. And from that, I've started singing at the open mic night and I was back on the piano. And this was in February 2020. And
Right.
it was a lovely thing for me to do with my dad every week. But it didn't last long. And we know why.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad actually got me back into it. And so what happened was, after performing at this open mic night and singing my own songs that I've been writing but haven't done anything much with, I thought I remember how much I love it, and I started to look online for singing jobs. I thought, listen, this is a month before COVID hit. I thought I'd be singing in restaurants, but you know, what can I do now? And I came across an advert for singers for top line vocals, lyricists, singers for dance label, and I applied, and I got that. And they invited me on board, and then we went into lockdown. So I spent the first 6 months of lockdown writing over tracks for this label, and so that's how it happened. And actually, I wouldn't have been looking out for it if it wasn't for my dad. Actually,
Amazing.
That got me back into realizing how much performing and how much I love my music. I love TikTok. You kind of create a little family, and everyone's as mad as each other. So when I post on Facebook, I feel very judged and a bit uncomfortable. Half the time the post
Facebook's horrible.
Yeah, people are thinking, why is she doing this now? Why would she be doing it? Instagram's a bit more acceptable, because they're a bit because it's but not great. But TikTok is like, yeah, bring it on! You're doing a record at your age. It's brilliant.
I found that as well. So, like I say, we all jumped on TikTok at the start of lockdown, and before that, I was on Facebook 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day, and then went on TikTok and didn't realize I'd not been on Facebook for about a week, and then went back on Facebook. And within 45 seconds, I was miserable as sin.
Yeah, it's boring.
So now I go on to Facebook to promote a bit of the business stuff, and that's it. But I just like, nah, man. It's just like TikTok's such a good laugh. I mean, you get some dickheads on there, but do you know what? There's far less dickheads on TikTok than there is on anything else, and I just love it because everyone's just kind of doing their own thing. And met some amazing people on there, and Baz.
You don't feel so judged, do you?
No, exactly. I mean,
everyone's as bad as everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you put stuff on there and just, people will come and have a go at you, but whatever. But no, it is it's a good place. And, there are so many social media options now for someone like you who, like you mentioned it before, that, in the 90s, if you were releasing a track, you'd have to send it to a load of people and that. All you got to do now is get it out on social media, get people to help you by getting it out there. Ask people to go to Spotify and search "Wanna Be Happy" by Dutch Bold featuring Stacey J.
Yes,
that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if you think about it, like most of the charts for the last 2 years is literally TikTok influenced. Some of the biggest hits were made by people. So even ABCDEFU was literally a TikTok tune, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I know.
So there's always that potential to get to an audience that you wouldn't get to, like in the old form of doing it, like trying to get played on the radio. Because even going back to MySpace, where Arctic Monkeys sort of found their fame, you'd at least have an audience there. But at least here now, you've got an audience that you can push it out to. So and if you grow more, you can just push more.
Yeah, there's so many channels. I mean, I've started to try and build my Instagram actually since doing the dance stuff again. And so and now my whole Instagram is very music, which is lovely for me. So I'm following DJs and clubs and Ibiza related venues and everything kind of music. I was really pleased yesterday though. Do you remember Seb Fontaine?
Yeah.
He followed me yesterday.
There you go.
This could be the start of something massive. You heard it here first.
Oh, I was so pleased about that. So Instagram actually, I ignored it for years, but I quite like it. It's got quite a big reach, and Facebook's just friends that want to judge.
Yeah.
Or friends that not friends. Your friends don't, but you know what I mean. Because I've got so many followers on Facebook, but no, I don't know.
Yeah, you might have loads of followers on Facebook, but they're all dickheads. So get over to TikTok.
Yeah, but TikTok, I do love a bit TikTok. When you post on TikTok, you don't feel, oh, maybe I shouldn't have. Should I take it off? How are they going to think? Whereas I've taken so much posts off Facebook afterwards because I'm a bit like, I'm not sure actually.
Do you know, we should all not give a shit about what other people think.
No, I've heard that a lot this week because I've been talking about.
We should all think that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've seen from my TikTok, I throw all kinds of shit out there, and it seems like I'm not bothered, but none of my stuff goes onto Facebook just because.
It's interesting.
I know that on TikTok there's a receptive audience, and there might be a couple of people who go, "Get off TikTok, you're too old, you dickhead."
But not many.
No, I know, but there's not many. But if I don't put any of my stuff onto Facebook because everyone would just be like, "What the hell are you doing? Are you going through a midlife crisis?" Which I might be, but it's not for them to point it out, is it?
I literally now, because of my age and having the dance tracks out, I feel very judged, and that's where I feel the most judged on Facebook. And I know that because I put posts up saying I'm really happy because right now in my life, I'm doing what I love to do. So I'm doing it different now. I'm not doing it like back then. I wanted to be the next Madonna and I wanted to be a big super pop star, right? And I love getting on stage performing. Now for me, it makes my week to be able to sit there with my headphones on. I taught myself how to produce my own vocals and to put tracks down. And I send them onto the adult. Everything's done at home. I send them to him in the Netherlands. He'll produce it with the most amazing effects, which I love. And that's your track. But I'm doing what I love to do. I was hiring studios to do some singing just for myself on some dance stuff, right? And someone, the guy said, you should actually get some software and teach yourself, which I did. So in 2018, I played and sang from A Star Is Born, Always Remember Us This Way. And I taught myself how, which I was really proud of, I taught myself how to use the system, and I released it on Spotify. So, and it's had 12,000 streams. And so since then, I did some covers, but I didn't have much time. So when lockdown came, I ended up not only doing the dance stuff, but I also I did Bruises. I did a few covers, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, like Eva Cassidy style. Yeah. And at home on the piano. Yeah. And I put them on Spotify. So I've got Stacey J as a page, and my dance stuff can be found there as well.
So what do your children think about you now that you've recorded a song? And it's on
Spotify? You know what? Yeah, they think it's quite cool. My son, he's what's your track called? Because my friends want to stream it. So yeah, they think it's pretty cool. They do think it's cool. I've actually found myself in a good place, and I'm really, really enjoying it this time more than probably back in the 90s because I'm more in control. Even though it's not my record label, the guys I'm working with are amazing, and the record label is called Ultra Wave Records, by the way, and they're incredible. And they're run by a guy here in the UK, I think Manchester, and a guy in the Netherlands, and they're both also dance producers with a big history, and work with some great people. So the guy I've been working with, Dutch Bowles, actually worked with Tiesto, and he had a track on the 2 Unlimited album back in the 90s.
I like that. He was working with Tiesto, and he was like, "No, I mean this is all right, but I want to work with Stacey J.
There you go.
Make it happen."
Yeah. So, he's a great guy. So anyway, but why it's different is because I've made like the promotional video. There's all this social media that you can push it out. Like you say, I haven't done videos on me yet, but I will on TikTok. But it's so different now, and it's a new lease of life for me, actually. So doing the music, but also the social media aspect of it, because he doesn't do that, and so leaves it to me, and I quite enjoy it. It's new, isn't it? It's all new. There's so many forums that you can push it out. Yeah.
You need to record a dance track with a massive drop in it so Baz can do a transition to it.
Exactly.
There is a drop in my next one.
He'll do a transition to it and get it out to his 650,000 TikTok followers.
Oh, will you do that?
Yeah. Why not?
My new track. No, I've got my second dance track, as I'm a Dutch Bold, released today, and it's called Who Knows. And it's dark, but it is house, and it is fab. It will get you moving. I love it.
Right, so now you've had your sort of first taste again after 25 years, and you've released a couple of tracks. What have you got coming up?
Yeah, so I'm now working with another guy that runs the label who sent me some great material. So I'm really enjoying writing, and I'm going to be recording some new stuff to release, hopefully. And also I wrote with some songs in lockdown, and I'd like to go in the studio because I do produce myself at home, but I want to do this properly and go in the studio and get these songs. They're piano and vocal songs. So I kind of go from dance to kind of ballady, but why not do it all way? But yeah, it's definitely brought my passion for music back big time, doing what I've always loved to do. So I've always loved dance music, and to be able to sing dance tracks now, I've wanted to do that for quite a few years after leaving it in the 90s, you know? So yeah, so it's exciting.
I absolutely love that. I love the fact that you are now back doing what you loved to do back in the 90s. And if anybody wants to know what Stacey's up to, or wants to keep up to date with what she's releasing, we're going to put all the links on thelockin.co.uk. So head there, you'll see all the links, and you'll be able to follow Stacey and keep up to date what she's doing now. She's got this new lease of life back into the dance music thing. So Stacey, thank you so much for being on. Really, really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. So listen, if this is your first time listening or first time watching, don't forget, please, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, subscribe, like, share with your friends, give us a review. All of those things help us get this out to more people. If you're enjoying it, send it out to loads of people. And yeah, Stacey, again, thank you so much for being on. Baz, thanks again for being there, and thanks everybody, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks guys. Bye.